Now, the next thing I would like to talk about is protecting access to your domain. Now, this isn't something that's happened to me, knock on wood, but I've read multiple times in accounts of people getting their domain hijacked. So, how do you protect yourself? Well, a lot of the same security protocols and options available for other online accounts like your bank accounts. They're also available to protect access to your domain name depending on the register. Now, the thing that is unique about domain names is they can be locked to protect against unauthorized transfers. This would be a transfer from your current domain register to some other domain register. And this status could be called register lock or client transfer prohibited or some other term. And domains are generally locked for 60 days, when they are purchased. So, how do people hijack domains? So if you get a text message, for example, or an email or some other communication saying that you need to unlock your domain, I would scrutinize this severely, very severely, as it's most likely a scam. And the reason they want you to unlock your domain is because they can fill out a form on a different domain register and then transfer your domain from your current register to the other register, and now it's in their name and not yours. This is why they implemented the domain lock. Another way they could hijack a domain in the past was they would call the support or email support or somehow contact support for your domain register or a domain register, and then they would impersonate you or the domain owner. If they had enough details and they could convince support that they were the domain owner, they would get the support to unlock the domain, and then they could fill out the form at the other register and get it transferred that way. Now, the register I use, because this happened more often than it should have, I'm not saying it happened a lot, but it happened more often than it should, for high valuable domains. They implemented some security protocols. So one of these is a PIN. So when I call into my support, I have to give them my PIN before they can access my account. And they've actually implemented an additional layer of security. So I also turn this additional layer on, and with this, the support people have to send me a text or a phone text message or an email with a computer-generated code, and then I have to read the code back to them before they can access my account. So in this way, somebody trying to pretend to be me couldn't gain access to my account and get them to unlock the domain for them. So now now that's another reason to protect your domain login credentials, because if someone can log in, they can change the PIN number online, and they could change the phone number online or the contact details, so that even if you had those security protocols in place, they wouldn't matter because they had access online to do that. And you can change the unlock online too. So you got to protect yourself in both cases in this to prevent unauthorized transfer. So that was the PIN and the two-factor authentication. And you may have a two-factor authentication when logging in also, and I have this turned on for mine, and it goes to my phone, and it has that computer-generated code again, which I have to put back in while I'm logging in to get into my account. And now there are ways, and it's above the level of this webinar, but there are ways they can hijack a phone. So just be aware of that. Now, if you had a domain name that was super valuable, or you want to go to the next level of security, some domain registers have another level of security, and this is a physical two-factor authentication key. So this is kind of like a key for the car. So without the key for the car, you can't turn it on and can't drive it. So with this physical authentication key, it's like a little USB drive you plug into your USB port, and then when you're trying to log into your account, that sends a code to the domain register so that it tells them, yeah, you are the right person. They couldn't hijack your phone in this case because you have a physical key just like a car key. So that's another level of security you may want to consider, and if your domain register offers that. So the next thing after implementing security protocols that we talked about is another way they can hijack your domain is actually hijacking your computer first so they can get your login details. And so one way to protect yourself against that, and again, there's dozens of things you could do potentially, but the main thing I would recommend for most people, the very basic thing that I would recommend you do is have a virus program, and I'm using McAfee. So this is a paid antivirus program to prevent antivirus software from getting into my computer. So that's something you may want to consider, is having a paid virus program. I was in Maryland many years ago, and I took security classes at the National Security Agency, or the NSA, and one of the key points was using a strong password for your login. So 30 years later, security experts are still preaching the exact same thing, strong passwords. So what does this mean? What is a strong password? Strong passwords are randomly generated strings of text, upper and lowercase letters, numbers, and special characters. And generally, the longer the better. So a random string of characters is more difficult to guess than someone's birthday or anniversary. So if someone has a computer set up to try and crack your password, they're going to try all these different combinations. And if you are using, a word or your anniversary or birth date or something, those are much easier to guess than these random strings of characters. So, and you may have heard all this before, and you're still using easy to remember passwords, and I do on sites that I wouldn't say they don't matter, but like, say, for example, if I bought a training program where if somebody got access to that login for that training program, I mean, there's no financial information or anything on there. They would just get free training, right? So if you got something that isn't as critical and you want to use the same password on all of those kind of things, that's up to you, of course, but for anything that's real important, I would recommend using strong passwords. And what I used to do for many years is I would have a spreadsheet. I actually had 3 legal size spreadsheets at the point where I traded them in for a password program, and I tried to generate somewhat random passwords and different passwords for each account using the spreadsheet, but at a certain point it just became a lot of work. So 11 years ago I traded that in, and I'm using RoboForm now, like I mentioned earlier. Like I said, I'll try and put a link to that program below, and to be perfectly clear, it will be an affiliate link. I'll get like a couple bucks or something, not much, but I've used this program pretty much every day for the last 11 years, and it works really well, and they're constantly updating it. And I tried other ones, and they were good, but they didn't work for me in the way I think and work. So if you're a little bit techie, I think RoboForm may work for you also. I have literally hundreds of secure bookmarks and logins saved on this program. And the nice thing about it is, and you can use it on all your different computers without paying anything extra. Now, the only drawback from this program is that you have to set a master password. So if you forgot that master password, that might be catastrophic and you get locked out. And every time you open the program, you have to either put in your master password or a PIN as an option, and I use the PIN. So that is, it does take some time, but to keep everything secure, I think that's worth it for me. And if you did get the program, you may want to keep your master password in a safe location, just like you would your login details for your domain name. Now, I used the master password every time I logged in for probably a year or two, maybe 2 or 3 years. I don't know. It's been a while. So it's kind of embedded in my memory now, and then I changed to the PIN. Stay with me and I'll cover some more stuff here in a bit.